Hey, welcome to Live Oak County Nueces River Park. This is the park, well, it's close to the park that I used to go to when I was a kid with my grandmother every summer to see the Nueces River. Let's go down and look at it. A lot of water because they've had a lot of rain. And it's muddy. But that's what I liked about coming down here as a kid. Back in the day in South Texas, it was always dry and hot. And you'd come down to the river and there'd be jungle vines and trees and greenery and snakes and all kinds of creepy crawlies. And it was really exciting as a kid to see all those. And right about here was the old city park that I used to go to. That's the bridge. This is the rickety bridge that my grandmother wouldn't let us walk over. Forget about driving. So this is the boat ramp going down to the Nueces. We didn't bring a boat, but we might get wet. So here it is, folks, the mighty Nueces River. You can just jump in and go for a swim, but I don't think we will. So this starts way up in the hill country, up above, trying to think of the town. There's a whole bunch of places that feed into it. But it all ends up in the Gulf of Mexico, right around San Antonio Bay, which is near Corpus Christi. And as you can see, it's not crystal clear. But that's because they've had a lot of rain, which we desperately need. But this thing will flood like crazy. So it's actually not flooding like it would be had we had major amounts of rain. And look for snakes. So reading from Viva Texas Rivers, I'm gonna read a little bit from my story about the Nueces River. On one of my countless trips down to our brushy inheritance in Duval County, I pulled off the road one time just past the Highway 16 bridge crossing the Nueces. It was late winter and brisk out and the sun was setting, and I remember thinking, as many times as I've driven over this bridge, I've never once gotten out to look under it, to see the river, to see what's down there. I turned and drove off on the dirt path alongside the adjacent barbed wire fence and halted just at the edge of a bluff. Getting out, I instantly, involuntarily felt the energy shift from up there on the 21st Century Highway to down here on the river bottom. Eerie, quiet, veiled, a million stories flowing gently past on a shallow stream of boundless memory. I remembered an old farmer telling me once that as a boy he'd found a Mexican soldier's button at the low water crossing on the Nueces. Made sense, as this was indeed the approximate river crossing of the old Laredo Road to San Antonio. Whose button was it? One of Santa Anna's men, a colonel, a captain, the old dictator himself? I bowed through the slack wire fence and walked a bit further along the banks. It felt utterly timeless. No vehicle noises of any kind came from the highway. Was it 2000, 1900, 1800? When? I searched the ground, thinking for certain I'd see a medal or a sword. A ring would have been perfect. My imagination soared. How many Native Americans had stood exactly here and gazed into the future, wondering boundless, ageless thoughts, brought on by solitude and sentiment. I thought about Spanish padres, some of them barely past their teens, walking into the unknown with nothing more than a Bible, a rosary, and God's forbearance to guide them. I thought about the perennial lonesome cowboy chasing a fractious steer down into the mire and cursing his bad luck. I remembered my grandmother telling me of a story once where, as a girl, she'd been invited to a dance at a big ranch house, and the river had gotten up so high the ranch hands had to ferry them all to the ball on lantern-lit boats. It sounded so impossibly romantic at the time, I wondered how she avoided marrying the first cowboy she met that night. I must have stood there for a good long time as I noticed it quickly getting darker. An 18-wheeler droned across the bridge and I immediately snapped back from time traveling. Uncanny how the sensation arrived and departed so quickly, and yet I was definitely there for a single boundless moment. There in a timeless place brought on by the river's reflective guise, the probing, subtle force of the Nueces River.